third time's a charm. We got this right now. You ready for this?
No, we're keeping this all in. We're keeping it all
Oh, this is it? Okay. Hey guys, welcome to Quarter Twins episode 13?
Yep.
13? Yeah. We're still here.
Maybe.
Lucky number 13. And it's the big one. Well, we've said that the last 3 weeks. This is the last one.
This is the last big one.
Marvel Cinematic Universe. Phase 4, the final phase of our escapade into the Marvel movies.
Who knows how many phases they will create?
Yeah, I mean, they'll be making movies till long after we are gone. But
maybe.
Well, yeah, who knows? Today we're looking at Phase 4, as well as our final total full MCU ranking from bottom to top.
Yep.
And I'm so excited because we have two separate documents for me and Jordan's rankings.
Mm-hmm.
And at the top of the doc, I put a page that says, "Don't look Joshua," or "Don't look Jordan," so that we don't look at the wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very difficult for me to not look at it. But I have stayed strong. I don't know what his ranking is. I'm excited to see if we have some similarities, at least in the top. You know, in the middle and the bottom, it's going to be all sorts of vague.
Sure.
I don't know. I just prefer this one sort of stuff.
Because we ranked all the phases individually, so we know which ones we like more in each phase. But for all you know, I could have all of Phase 3 at the bottom of my list.
Whoa.
You know, compared to all the other
That would
ones.
be
So
egregious.
There's some intrigue.
Jordan's least favorite movie is Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, I hate that movie. It's so bad.
What a terrible film.
I'm just kidding, of course.
No.
It was a joke. You got ranked.
Ooh.
Wow.
A farce.
Anyway.
But before we get into all that stuff, we'd like to thank our listeners for your continued patronage, listening to the podcast, watching the podcast over on our YouTube channel, which just hit 20, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 20 subscribers.
Yes.
It's huge. It's twice as many as 10 and 20 times as many as 1.
Wow. That's
so we are celebrating today with nothing special.
Nope.
Just another episode, because we didn't plan anything for 20 subscribers. We'll have to actually do something for 20 subscribers. My YouTube channel also hit 20 subscribers, and I haven't thought of anything to do for that yet either. So I was thinking like a 20-second video of me counting the numbers. But that's so sad and boring, and I don't know. Well, it's not neither here nor there. Jordan, you wanted to discuss a potential logistics change.
I would like to discuss. I think we have decided we've thrown it out to each other. The idea of releasing audio and video on the same day. Because as it stands, we release audio on Friday, video on Tuesday, and that creates a little bit of a gap between the two. And I do the social media on Friday. I do the social media on Friday where I say, "Hey, audio's up, but you have to wait till Tuesday to watch the video." But how great would it be if on Monday and or Tuesday, probably Tuesday still. We'll see. We haven't decided which day for sure. What if on Tuesday, audio and video released at the same time, so you, the viewer, the watcher, the listener, has the choice to either watch or listen or both. So I think
preferably both.
So, and the idea is maybe we'll get more consistency of watching and listening. Because Joshua works really hard on the video, and the video usually gets less attention than the audio, so we want to add some motivation to watch.
The ads are over on Spotify, so you know it's a mixture of I like $2.60.
We're getting
split two ways,
almost $2.75.
But yeah, I think it's for me personally. I agree that there's a lot more effort put into the videos. on both ends, and it'd be cool to see those 30, 40 views that we get on the Spotify over on YouTube too, because that's, I mean, who doesn't want to see our face? I got a fancy audio visualizer going now. We're gonna add some little pictures of people going. They're probably right here in the corners. You can see them.
Did we start doing close-ups? Did we do that for one?
I did that for one, and then I didn't do it last week, did I? Nope.
Oh, that's okay. We ran out of time. Or you specifically ran out of time.
Yes, I was a little busy, and it's gonna continue to be that way because I start my work next Monday. So, but I'll be free on Friday next week. So that's what.
And I was laying in bed last night, and I think I woke up in a sweat, and I thought I figured out how to get the videos on Spotify. And so I think I may have an idea of how we can do that, because I figured out how to put the video in Spotify, but then I couldn't figure out how to put the ad with the video, so we stopped doing that. But I think I figured it out. So we'll try that. So that'd be fun if it was everywhere all the time. Everything everywhere all at once.
Whoa.
Great movie.
Isn't that a movie? I got to see that movie. Me and my parents watched Coda last night.
I saw
Good
that,
movie. Best picture, as they say.
Yeah.
One last thing before we run the ad for our lovely listeners. I've been watching a TV show on Apple TV called For All Mankind. It's a telling of an alternative history where Russia lands on the moon before the U.S. And kind of how that changes history. And let me tell you, it's one of the greatest television shows I've ever watched. Wow. Cinematically, artistically, the plot is ever-changing, swirling, twisting. The characters are really good. The acting is good. It's like, there's been no fault other than like, I sit there and I'm like, why would you say that? But that's, that's like part of the whole thing.
That's drama.
Right? So, yeah. So it's a really good drama, character drama, along with like the politics of a longer Cold War sort of stuff. Like it's pretty interesting. So you should definitely check it out. There are some gorgeous shots in that show. Oh man, it looks better than most Marvel movies, if not all of them. And it's a TV show. So
they don't often look great, if we're being honest.
Well,
we'll talk about a few today.
Oh.
That may or may
not
look
here
good,
to do?
Great, or bad.
Okay.
But first...
With that being said, bring us back for Black Widow.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought you said I'm bringing us back.
I said bring us back.
Whoa!
Whoa!
What a time that was. Welcome.
Yeah, what a great ad, huh?
We are in Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in June.
In June.
So, Phase 4 consists of, at the moment, what is it, 5 movies?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 movies.
And 6 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, Thor Love and Thunder will come out in a few weeks. We'll see that. We'll talk about it. We'll have a whole review on it.
I'm so excited. I've only seen the original teaser, so I don't know anything.
Dang, dude.
And that makes me so happy.
Yes, it's going to be exciting. I wish we could see it together.
Wow.
But
I'll just fly out there.
Far away. Yeah, please do.
Okay.
The first movie in Marvel Cinematic Universe, Phase 4. What is it, Joshua?
Black Widow.
That was beautiful.
Ooh,
wow.
Thank you.
They should put that in the opening text of the title sequence instead of card. That smells like Teen Spirit or whatever.
Yeah, that was funny.
I saw Black Widow when it came out, and I thought this movie sucks. And then
egregious.
A year went by, and I watched it again 2 days ago, and I thought, you know what, this is pretty good. So,
I didn't see it until like September, maybe November, like late last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw it again, and I've enjoyed it every single time.
Yeah.
So
I
I'll start here.
Yeah, go for it. You start.
I think this movie. I'm just gonna go right out and say it. I think this is the Han Solo Solo Star Wars story for me,
Mm.
where like a lot of people didn't like it. They thought it was like boring or dumb,
Mm-hmm.
or like the stakes weren't high because there were no lightsabers. In
And
the case of Solo,
for Black Widow, like it takes place.
right?
Avengers Infinity War and Endgame already we saw that, but this movie takes place directly after Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a prequel, and Natasha died in Endgame, so I think a lot of people, me included, were like, why is this happening now? I no longer care about this character because she had a satisfactory character arc and dead.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, why are we doing this? But so I think that's what a lot of people were just like, and like you said, there's not a lot of stakes because you know that she's going to be fine because she has a few more movies to do.
And you can't create stakes for a prequel when the end of a character has already occurred and none of these other characters are involved in the main story.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you look at it that way and you see this movie come out and you're like, why would this movie come out now? We just had Endgame and Spiderman. It's like, come on, let's call it quits.
Yep.
COVID happened. This movie got delayed a year, and then went straight to Disney Plus or something. Like it was a whole mess. It really was. And this movie was supposed to come out a long time ago, before even COVID delayed it, I think. And it just got bogged down in all sorts of bureaucratic nonsense. But I'm not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the movie. And the movie itself is really good.
Yeah,
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
It's just like a fun action movie. The villains aren't great, but the heroes are. I think this is Black Widow at her peak. Maybe not Natasha at her peak, but I think it's definitely Black Widow at her peak. She has this. She's like, because I think Winter Soldier, she was really good in that movie. She's all sly and spy-y and all that sort of stuff. Bye bye bikinis. You know, she's got like this way
line
about her, and I think that was like distilled into this movie, and then they gave her a family of characters to bounce off of. Florence Pugh and David Harbour especially are super good at this, and all the family interactions between those characters is really nice. And so it's just fun. She's dealing with the repercussions of the Sokovia Accords and being a fugitive, because even though she sided with Tony originally, she ended up stopping T'Challa from getting to the ship initially, and he snitched. So she would have been detained, and so she's on the run, and she has to hide out, but then the Red Room that she thought she destroyed comes back, and so she's got to deal with that, and we get this movie about her dealing with the Red Room, which I think is such a cool idea for this giant flying fortress in the sky.
Could you help me figure out? I wrote in my notes. I don't know if I missed something, but like I was just trying to like figure out what I know what the Red Room is. Like Dreykov is abducting. He's basically trafficking girls into his and mind controlling them to be his army. But what is he doing with them? What is their purpose?
I think
because I never really figured that out.
Mercenaries, right?
Yeah, but
so he might have his own agenda.
Yeah,
but people will hire widows to go out and do an assassination or topple a government. That whatever they need done. I don't think he has his own agenda of where he's gonna pick and choose what jobs he thinks are okay. He's got
Yeah.
his own prime timeline sort of deal. And he can send his girls out for missions, whatever he wants to do, right?
Yeah.
Because he can mind control them all.
Interesting. I was just like, I was confused trying to figure that out. Like, what is his goal other than just like having an army of girls or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it makes him wealthy,
I guess, yeah.
which could be enough
If he's hiring
for some people. Like,
yeah.
yeah. But
I also thought it was funny
that.
Sorry, I thought it was funny that this movie is like, there's a super secret organization who have these secret agents that topple governments and stuff. And then I turned on Shang-Chi, and it was like, there's the super secret agency that has all these secret agents, and they topple governments and stuff.
No.
It's like, oh, wow, okay, we're doing that.
10
twice.
rings. Yeah, that is kind of funny, actually. You think about that.
It was just because I watched them. I like literally watched Black Widow and then turned on that one, and it was like.
Well, they are right next to each other
familiar.
too in the release order, so
yeah.
There you go.
But anyway, go on.
Yeah, I just think that the Red Room itself is like a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it may have not have been perfectly explained or well fleshed out since it's only in one movie and then it gets destroyed. But just like the idea of a floating fortress with one guy controlling all of these mercenaries, I think that in itself is like a cool concept. Maybe it didn't get perfectly utilized.
Mm-hmm.
David Harbour is Red Guardian in this movie. 10 out of 10 role. David Harbour has a thing for Russia lately.
He's always stuck in Russia, this guy.
He plays Hellboy, which primarily takes place in Siberia.
Have you seen Hellboy? I haven't seen Hellboy.
I haven't seen it, but he's in it.
Hellboy movie ranking. I think there's like 2 or 3.
There's a couple of them, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Stranger Things, where he spends time fighting Russia.
Sometimes in Russia.
Spends some time in Siberia, and now again he is Russian and imprisoned in Siberia.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just fun, kind of like weird actor continuity going on here recently. I thought that was kind of funny. The opening to this movie is a 10 out of 10, dude.
It really is.
We get this cool like action set piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good sort of cold open to show us this family, and it's like this happy family, and everybody thinks it's fine, and then okay, maybe he is like a whistleblower or something. He's got to get out of there. So they get out, and they're singing American Pie. They get on the plane, and David Harbour's sitting on the wing of a plane as it's flying, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And he's shooting cops or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he throws a giant thing, like a giant dumpster or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, maybe he's got some super strength, I guess. We got some serum going on. But everybody's American. It's just like some little thing. And then they land in Cuba, and everybody starts speaking Russian, and you're like, whoa. Something else is going on here.
Yeah.
So I just think that was a really cool start to a film.
For sure. Yeah, really kind of like, they're really complex family because so Natasha and Yelena are not blood related, and they're not blood related to David Harbour or their mom. So basically,
all 4 of them are strangers.
Yeah, so David Harbour, what's his character's name? Alexi, and what's the mom's name? I forget.
I don't know.
I don't know. The mom.
Danila.
Something like that. So they're basically like Russian spies that were placed by Dreykov in America, and I think Natasha's story is she was like a baby, and her blood mom just left her on the street or something and was picked up by Dreykov or somebody. So they're just kind of like, they have this fake family relationship, but they all like grow to love each other. But they're obviously like Alexei and them, like he's this Russian spy who's not like a good guy. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
I love the scene where they break him out of prison and they're talking when their helicopter crashes, and he's so proud of them. He's like, "You both have killed so many people.
Your ledgers are gushing red."
He's just like, "I'm so proud of you." And it's a really funny family dynamic. And yeah, I think while I at the time was kind of just bored with the character of Black Widow, now that enough time has passed where you can watch it, like now I would, if I was watching all the movies in order, like if you watch this one right after Civil War, I think it fits really well. And so like it doesn't feel as out of place now that time has passed.
Right.
Because you can watch it with, and you know that it comes after Civil War and she's going to Infinity War at the end of it, but it's shot super well.
You know what we should do next year?
Yes.
We should watch all the movies in chronological order and pretend like we don't know what's going on. And just like pretend that it's our first time watching all the movies.
That'd be fun. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I didn't really like Taskmaster. I think that was a little disappointing. That was like one of the things I saw in the movie or the trailers. I was like, "Oh, Taskmaster, dope!" Because I had just finished Spiderman PS4.
Yep.
And I was like, "Yo, Taskmaster was so good in that movie or that video game." And he's like very fun and conniving and like messes with you while you're trying to complete his missions and stuff. It's fun.
Yeah.
But in this movie, Taskmaster is a silent, like robot that pretends to fight like other people, like Neo, and it just doesn't really work for me. Yeah. And then the twist comes out at the end that Taskmaster is Dreykov's daughter that Natasha thought she killed. So Natasha she doesn't have to continue to live with that grief anymore.
Right.
Which I think is kind of not good.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's a good thing for her in her mental health.
Right.
But in terms of like the character, I think it kind of takes something away from her.
Yeah, because I think it's a Disney movie, and they're like, we can't have our hero be guilty of murdering a child. Like we can't have that, so we got to get rid of it somehow. But it kind of like dilutes the complexity of her character. Those are big words.
Dilutes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because that's something that has been set up since. I think they did a good job at like. I don't think they planned this movie from the very beginning, but things that they set up in like the first Avengers when Loki says Dreykov's daughter, your ledger is red or whatever.
Gushing red.
Red in your ledger.
They always say gushing.
Yeah.
Dripping. Gushing red.
And they talk about Budapest and them being there and that sort of thing. And they kind of address Budapest, like they go to Budapest in this movie. And she's like, yeah, me and Barton were here, and this is where I thought I put an end to the Red Room, or whatever. But she ended up not doing that, I guess. I was talking to a friend of the podcast, Elisha, about Black Widow.
Great friend of the podcast.
About it. Like, there's a lot of things in Black Widow. Like, I have a lot of just, like, the stuff I wrote down in the bad section on my notes, like a lot of it's just nitpick stuff. There's a lot of like nitpicky things that I could like be mad about, like the fact that there's this massive Russian base that's been trafficking women for 20 years and the Avengers never noticed. Like I'm like that. Nope, that doesn't make sense. They would definitely find out about that. The Taskmaster thing, it's not great. This movie doesn't really have a villain for a lot of it because Dreykov isn't really in it until the very end.
Right.
I don't know. I think it is. There's a lot of just kind of meh stuff in it.
Me.
They make a joke out of the fact that the widows all have involuntary hysterectomies, and I think that's a
Not
bad
great.
decision.
Mhm.
That's not a joke. That's like the most tragic and compelling aspect of the widows, and you're just like, ha, it's hilarious, right? It's not funny. Don't joke about it.
Yeah.
I know they're trying to like give some comic relief to that, but I'm like, I don't know if you should, because that's a big deal.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff like that where I'm like, meh, but there's a really good like story of family and what it means to be family. It has a good like sister storyline with Natasha and Yelena, learning to love each other even though they aren't real sisters, but they are, because they love each other and that sort of thing. All
Similar
that,
to Gamora and Nebula.
yes.
You gotta
Marvel
love
does
that.
sisters really well. All the cast is really good. I love the addition of Florence Pugh as Yelena. I think she is great, and I'm glad she's been in the Hawkeye show. And spoiler, but
I knew that. It's fine.
you knew that. I hope she's in it more. Yeah, all that stuff is good. It's shot really well. Like out of the movies in this phase, it's probably the best looking, other than one of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, there's some really nice stuff in Black Widow. Good stuff.
Good movie. Great movie.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah,
We've talked about Black Widow probably more than we should have.
probably.
Well, we got more time.
We
this
only
time,
got
so
4
we
movies
can-
to go.
Yeah. Okay. Second on the list is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell me the history of the Ten Rings in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
It's in the movie, so let me see if I can remember. So this guy, his name is Wen Wu. He is colloquially the Mandarin. So he's been around for many years, like old China
Thousands,
time,
probably even.
thousands of years. And he discovered these things called the Ten Rings. In the comics, they were like literal rings that were on your fingers that were essentially the Infinity Stones. So they decided for this movie, we're going to make them bangles, bracelets.
They're pretty
So-
sick.
10 of these, which I think is, it's a great decision because they're pretty dope. 10 rings that are like powerful. They don't really, I don't know if they have more power other than just like he uses them to fight in really cool ways.
Well, they give him eternal youth.
That's the one thing that they do.
Yeah.
Other than being cool, is that they let you live forever. So Wen Wu, the Mandarin, goes through, thousands of years with these rings, conquering kings and kingdoms and amassing wealth and an army and his own kingdom. And then one day he meets a girl and he falls in love with this girl. And this girl is
Tears it all
from
down.
this girl is from this magical place called something that I don't remember. It's like a alternate dimension where there are magical creatures and whatever.
It's a paradise, honestly. It
So-
looks beautiful.
Yeah, Wenwu decides to put the 10 rings down and have a real life with this girl, marry her and have children. And then he does that. He gets rid of the 10 rings. They get married, have Shang-Chi and his sister, Xialing, I think is
Xialing. Yes.
her name. And then because Wenwu has been around for so long and he's made a lot of enemies, some enemies come and kill his wife, and that makes him angry. And so he becomes obsessed with vengeance, and he takes his kids with him to go kill people, and trains them how to be murderers.
Big
but-
yikes.
And then Shang-Chi's like, I don't want to do this anymore. So he leaves at age 12 or something.
13, 14.
Goes to America, changes his name to Sean, meets Aquafina,
Mm-hmm.
has a great time. Yeah, and then the Ten Rings
Yep.
is still around. So that's the
Right.
history. That took a while. Sorry.
So, in 2008, the Taliban in Iron Man 1 is the 10 rings.
Yeah.
Not sure how they got that name, but they had it. And they used it in their graphics, the same logo and everything. They were the 10 rings.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Iron Man 3, they show up again as a fake terrorist organization led by a fake Mandarin,
Trevor
Slattery.
Yes.
And then Aldrich Killian calls himself the Mandarin.
I am the Mandarin.
And then he gets bopped.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
He says, I am.
So then we get to Shang-Chi, and the 10 rings come up again, but this time there's the actual 10, like actual
the real
rings.
10 rings, yeah.
And then we have the actual Mandarin again. But he doesn't really call himself the Mandarin at any point, I think.
He talks about how the American terrorist organizations needed a boogeyman to kind of lead their group or whatever, so they like basically appropriated it, his name, and called him the Mandarin, and he's like, they named me after a Chinese chicken dish or something, so, or a orange or whatever. So
it's kind of funny that the 10 rings has been used a bunch of different times now.
And the reason
this time it's for real.
The reason is they didn't plan that out at all. They were just going with the punches, which is fine.
It happens. Not everything in the MCU can be perfectly planned out.
It is a little funny.
Right.
But what do you think of this one?
I don't have any more notes for like any of the rest of these movies.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I don't have things to say. All right, guys. I really think that Shang-Chi is a little overrated, personally.
Ooh. Wow.
When this movie came out, people were over the moon. They were like, this is the best Marvel movie since Endgame, which hadn't come out that long ago. But like, you know what they meant. They were like, this is the best one. Let's get back hype for Marvel again.
Yeah.
Which is great, because I want more Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
So, any Marvel movie that does well, I'm happy about.
It is more of a just straightforward crowd pleaser. Like, it doesn't take too many risks. It's just kind of like back to basic MCU origin story, which is something.
Yeah. Which is kind of what we're getting in this phase. Now, not so much now. We got a couple sequels happening now. But these first 3 movies are sort of origin stories, I guess. Well, Black Widow isn't either. Okay, so there's only 2.
Yeah.
But I think what this movie does do really well is it tells another good family story with a backdrop of a secret organization with a bunch of spies doing spy things.
Yes.
So kind of funny that those 2 movies came out at the same time, near each other at least. I think all of the actors are doing a really good job. I think this movie is actually shot pretty well.
Yeah, it is.
I think the fight choreography is probably the best.
Yeah.
Among all of the, because Marvel does this thing where they edit it into oblivion.
Yeah. Sometimes.
And they
Depends
put
on the
like
director.
10 cuts in every punch, and it just like feels very disjointed. But this movie, they pull the camera away a little bit so you can see both characters fighting at the same time.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see what one is doing and how the other is countering and moving and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously there is like a literal emphasis on martial arts in this movie.
Yes.
We have like training sequences and stuff. But it's not just like martial arts. We also have the 10 rings and like the dragon bows and staffs and stuff.
Yeah. The super magical kingdom or whatever.
Yeah. I think the 10 rings are like some of the coolest instruments that we've seen, because it's so unique. They are used cleverly every time. They're not just like, I mean, it happens a couple times when Wenwu gets angry and he'll just use them to like do a super punch.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the times when he's fighting, like especially in the opening sequence, he's doing a lot of chain throws and like linking them up, using them to jump. Like they're very creative with the way that they use the rings, and I think that really propelled the movie. Because if the rings were just like, it makes me strong, that would be super lame.
For sure.
So, and I like in the final sequence, which is crazy bananas, by the way. We get one last duel between Shang-Chi and Wenwu, and they fight together with the 10 rings between the two of them, and it kind of, you start really to see, like, they split it, and they have 5 rings, and they're fighting against each other, and then eventually Shang-Chi takes all 10, and I think it's it's just really cool that they had such a creative weapon throughout the movie. So, big fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. Sorry, go ahead.
I said it was overrated, and then I hyped it up. So I should probably say something that I didn't like as much.
Yeah, why do you think it's overrated?
Well, I guess we talked about it a little bit, how it's just a Marvel origin story.
Yeah.
Like, it's not taking too many risks, I guess.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, we're establishing a character, motivations, family members, side characters, all that sort of stuff. But it also, we have like a giant monster dragon kaiju fight.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would have been okay with just, if that fight didn't last so long and didn't feel like the finale, because we have this final confrontation with the dad and the son, and that's like an important emotional event.
Right.
But then,
dragon.
Spoiler alert, daddy dies.
Yep.
He like sacrifices himself, right? His soul gets sucked, and Shang-Chi takes the rings from him.
Yeah.
And then they still have this dragon fight going on.
Right.
Like, dad died in the middle of the climax instead of at the end on the way down. And I think that kind of undersold him, because he really is a tragic character.
Yeah, for sure.
Being manipulated by this dark beast or whatever it's called. So I felt it in the first time I watched it, and then when I was watching it again to be critical of it, to analyze it, I thought that was not a great choice.
Yeah.
And we have differing opinions on this apparently, but I'm not a huge fan of Awkwafina. I just feel like she plays the same character in every movie she's in. And I'm not usually a huge fan of typecast.
Yeah.
Actors.
We're on the same page with that one.
Yeah.
I agree.
I did like her in Raya and the Last Dragon. I thought she was good in that movie.
I think she's
kind
of annoying in that one, but that's a great movie, but I think she's kind of annoying. Yeah, I think most everyone will disagree with us that because we kind of think this one's overrated, and we really like Eternals, which we'll get to, because that's like the opposite of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But I think I think that is the main thing that drags this movie down is I think the first half is really, really good. It's more of like a straightforward martial arts movie where it's like the plot's happening and we get to an action set piece, and it's like, okay, we're gonna do a martial arts set piece now. Like the scene on the bus is really good where he's fighting Razor Fist as his name, I think. Just
Razor Fist. I mean, that's got to be a reference to Taserface, right?
Yeah, right. The scene at the beginning where Wenwu meets the girl he loves, I forget her name, and they fight in this super beautiful magical location is like great. It's great stuff.
That's
I really, really love that scene.
Yeah.
It's great fight choreography. The editing and the way it's shot is super good. But then they get to, all the characters end up at the Mandarin's palace, and then it's revealed that Wenwu is going to take the 10 rings to this magical place that his mother is from, and they're going to burn it to the ground and try to find, because the evil demon monster is like talking to Wenwu in his head, making him believe that his wife is still alive, and that's why he wants to go. So after that point, and they meet Trevor Slattery in the prison. And I think that was the worst decision they could have ever made, because it turns this movie into just a goof fest. It's just super goofy and dumb from that point on. Trevor Slattery's around and he's being himself, and he has this little magical plot
Faceless
device that tells you
thing.
exactly what to do to get to your goal. And then it's like, dragons! Instead of just being a grounded martial arts movie. And it's not even all bad. It's just, it's not what it could have been. And it's like, it kind of jumps the gun a little bit. And I feel the same way about Awkwafina. I think, have you seen The Farewell? The Farewell's great.
No, I have not.
She's fantastic in that movie. It's just, for me, it's just the most obvious casting choice that they could have gone with, when they could have chosen to elevate a newer actress, like they, with Shang-Chi's sister, Xiaoling, they chose, like, this is her first movie, and she's great. So they could have chosen somebody not as in the spotlight as Awkwafina. But Simu Liu is great as Shang-Chi.
He's really
really good. I think he's a great addition to the Marvel cast. Yeah, there's some really, really bad writing jokes for Awkwafina. She's just kind of annoying. There's some nitpicky things, like there's this character who wears a mask, the Big Hero 6 villain mask. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's the exact same mask as Big Hero 6. Who he's around, and they set up this rivalry between him and Shang-Chi for some reason.
Right.
And then nothing happens. He just dies. He gets killed by a demon. Maybe that was subverting our expectations, but I don't know.
It kind of reminds me of when the babysitter in Jurassic World gets ripped to shreds
for no reason. Yeah.
And they're like, what happened here?
Was this somebody's ex-girlfriend or somebody who pissed
him
off?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But there's a lot of good stuff in the first half that I like. And I like Simu Liu a lot. So it's not a bad movie by any means.
No, I don't think any of the movies in this phase are bad, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's something I wanted to say about the whole MCU when we get to our ranking, is like, none of them are like bad, except for a chosen
the
few.
Bottom three.
The bottom 3 or 4. And even those are just like whatever movies, they're just whatever. They're not, we'll get to it, but all
easier to
Phase
nitpick.
4 are fine. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Let's talk about Eternals.
Eternals. Whoa!
I will.
Dude, Eternals is so good.
Yeah, I'll go first with this one. I don't like it. I rewatched it yesterday. I don't like it as much as I did the first time. I think it is a little bit bogged down by all the characters. And that's people's main complaint, is that there are 10 main characters. And it doesn't super bother me, but I can see why people are like, this is too much. Because there are some characters that are not a part of the movie for a large part of it. So Eternals is about this group of Eternals, is what they're called. There's 10 of them. They're created by these massive god creatures called the Celestials. They were created to fight.
Harashem is the name of the big one, right?
The narrative we're told at the beginning is that the Celestials created the Eternals to fight the Deviants. It's a lot of stuff. And so they were sent to Earth to fight off these Deviants and to basically just give humanity just a little bit of a push toward advancement. So there are 10 Eternals. Some of them are it's kind of like Star Trek, where you have the science officers and you have the other ones, the combat, the red shirts and all that. There's some sciencey people. There's some fighting people. There's some whatever. It's a really good cast. They're all really good. The main character, the lead, is Gemma Chan. playing Cersei. And she's great.
Cersei.
I'm glad that I didn't know that she was going to be like the main character, so I'm glad that they chose to let this movie have a main character that wasn't the white man.
Yeah.
It's just I think that's a good choice.
It could have been easy.
There's enough of that.
Yeah.
The main, I mean, he ends up being a villain. Spoiler alert. Icarus.
Whoa.
Is like Icarus is basically the Superman of the MCU, who flies around shooting lasers out of his eyes. I'm not gonna name all of them because there's too many. But yeah, trying to think of where to go. I don't want to explain the entire plot, but I like it. There's a lot of good, like, I don't know. I think the thing that hurt this movie most is that they hyped it up as being this, like, they hired kind of like a auteur director that directed Best Picture of a couple years ago.
Shape of Water?
No, it was maybe it wasn't Best Picture. It was Nomadland. I don't remember her name. Let me look it up. But they hired this really, like, good director who's known for, like, really, really profound movies, and they hyped it up as, like, we're shooting on real locations, they're wearing real costumes, this movie is unlike anything you've ever seen in the MCU, we're doing something completely different. And then it's basically the same as all the other ones. Like, it's shot a little bit better. They are wearing, like, real costumes, which is nice to see, because nowadays in Marvel movies they're usually not wearing real costumes.
Yeah.
And it's really just an MCU movie. Chloe Zhao is her name, the director.
Chloe Zhao. Yes, you're right.
So I think that is what hurt it most, is people were like, this is not as good as you made us think it was going to be.
Right.
And that made
really
people
did
angry.
hype it up.
But I really like it.
It's great.
It's this really, like, depressing movie at times, which, like, I'm on board for. I like depressing movies.
Absolutely.
Because there are these immortal humanoid organisms, Eternals. They turn out to be basically robots who have been around since the beginning of human civilization, right? So they've seen everything. They've been through everything. One of them helps create the atomic bomb, and, like, that's why he leaves the group.
Who hasn't helped create the atomic bomb?
Right, yeah. And so they're just a group of really depressed people, because they've just they've been around for a long time. One of them is stuck being a kid, so she can't, like, have real relationships with people, but she's like thousands of years old, and she's really depressed, and all of this stuff. And then they find out that they've basically been conned into raising up human civilization to a certain point where the Celestials can take all the people on Earth, turn them into batteries, and birth a new Celestial. So they find out that they basically have been put on Earth to commit genocide when the time is right.
Right.
And most of them are like, I don't want to do that. And then some of them are like, let's do it.
It's our job.
And I think that's really interesting. I wish they would have focused on that more. The kind of the conflict of, like, some of them are like, this is my purpose, so this is what I'm going to do. Otherwise, what am I here for, right?
Right.
And then the others have basically fallen in love with humans and have seen all the good things that humans have done, and it's the Wonder Woman thing where, like, humans are good even though they started wars and stuff. They're still good. So I think it's interesting. I do think they there is some potential wasted of, like, all the Eternals are just kind of normal people who talk and act like normal people when they've been around for so many years. Like, they don't act like they're, thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, right?
Right.
They act like people who are the age that they are. Even the kid acts like a kid, so it's like, it's kind of conflicting messaging,
right?
So there are things that could have been better.
They probably should be.
Yeah, and they hyped up the inclusion of Kit Harington, from Game of Thrones fame, who's
Jon
playing
Snow.
Dane Whitman. He's in this movie for minutes.
Yeah.
He's a human character who's in love with Cersei. So here's a rewrite. I would take out comic relief character, the guy who carries around the camera for Kumail Nanjiani. Take that guy out. Get him out. He's not funny. I don't want him. Put Dane Whitman in there because he has a reason to be there. And that is like, you can do it. You can do a love triangle thing with Icarus and Cersei and Dane, and it can be whatever. I'm just like put him in the movie if you're gonna. I think that is movie.
Probably a better choice, actually. Yeah.
So
as much I do like the cameraman, I think is kind of funny.
He's kind of funny.
But yeah, I think having an actual character in that slot would be better.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I like it. I like watching it. It feels like a little bit different from the rest just because it's an origin movie, but it has all these different characters that have been around for so long, and it's kind of, the plot isn't necessarily complex. Like it's a fairly straightforward story, but they're complex individuals. So that's interesting.
Plenty of relationships to happen.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. I think this movie is way better than it is. We saw it together for the first time.
We did
in theaters. Shout out to my sister and her husband for talking through the whole thing next to me.
Oh my gosh, they would.
They did. But that's whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine. I just thought I thought it was a cool reset. It felt like a reset for the cinematic universe a little. My initial thought was I would have liked this movie more if it wasn't in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you get these 10 new
100%.
characters, and they're all interesting to me because they've lived for so long, but they're trying to fit into today's world. And they have kind of we see them in the past as a group, and then we see them in the present as a broken up, disjointed.
Yeah.
And it's like some of them are together, but most of them are alone. And at first you're like, okay, what happened here? Why are they separated? But then we get this long confrontation in the Aztec Empire, I think.
Yeah.
The conquistadors are invading. And they are there, and they could stop the conflict, but they don't want to interfere because it doesn't have anything to do with the deviants. They're just there to kill the deviants.
Yeah.
But there's an extra war going on, and they could prevent that war from happening, which would save a lot of lives, which would eventually actually get them closer to committing genocide, since the final destination is a certain population to be reached on Earth.
Yep.
And so it's kind of interesting because the people that fall in love with the humans are also the ones that are bringing them closer to their ultimate destruction.
Yep.
Which they don't know, obviously.
At the time, yeah. There is also a major plot hole with the whole, they didn't interfere with Thanos thing. But we could talk about that later, too.
Interesting.
But,
exciting. Yeah, I just think it's sort of cool that we got 10 new characters all at once. And a lot of people would be like, ugh, that's so many people to remember.
Right.
I'll be honest, I can't even remember all of their names. I can remember all 10 of them.
Let's try. Ajax.
Really? Okay. Ajax.
Cersei.
Icarus. Sprite.
Makari.
Gilgamesh.
Athena. Fastos. And then there's two more.
The mind control kid and Kumail's character.
Yeah. Barry Keoghan is the actor, but what's his name?
Barry Keoghan.
What's his name?
That'd be so funny.
Druig.
They're all named Druig, yes.
And Camille's character.
who uses the finger guns.
Yeah.
I don't know what his name is. Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid. Anyway, continue. I'll look it up.
But yeah, it's just, I thought it was so cool that they took that step, because obviously there are so many characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe already, and now we're getting this whole new group.
Yeah.
And they're telling us that the universe is run by these Celestials who build planets and create life.
Yep.
And then use the life to destroy the life to create Celestials, which create life in this whole circle. And they created the Deviants to help control populations, and then they got out of control. So they created the Eternals to fight off the Deviants, which is sad because they were just created to do their thing, and they just want to live. Side note, the Deviant monster that like steals powers and stuff, that starts talking halfway through the movie, Major L.
Yeah.
That character was really bad. By the end of the movie, it was so like unimportant.
And it had good potential, I thought, when he popped back up on screen when they're all fighting Icarus. I thought he was going to join the fight and be like, because in reality, the Deviants are just as tools of the Celestials as the Eternals were. So I thought he was going to be like, I want to join you guys in destroying the Celestials because they created me to do this and I'm mad at them or whatever. That I think that would have been interesting to like, it's the whole like, we're the same, you and I. Like they could have done that whole thing really well, but they were like, nah, we'll just have Angelina Jolie slice it in half.
Right. I guess he does serve to like finish her arc, I guess, a little, which is nice. But the fact that the main villain for most of the movie ends up just being a plot device is not great, in my opinion. That's a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, I like how all the characters mesh together. I like that it does feel like they have existed for a long time together. Yeah. At least. Even if they don't sound like old philosophers talking in their ancient ways. They at least have like long-standing relationships with each other. But they're still finding out new things about each other, like how Sprite has been in love with Icarus the whole time. Yeah. I think that's really great. I thought that Icarus's turn to the dark side was also actually kind of surprising to me. I look at it back in hindsight and I'm like, of course, obviously. Right. But the first time I watched it, I was a little surprised. Yeah. Kumail Nanjiani's character, which we didn't figure out. Kingo. Yep. Yes. Kingo. Found it. He also sides with Icarus, but he doesn't want to fight. Yeah. So he just leaves.
He's essentially like, this is what I was put here to do. So, and I did it. I'm going to go back, let this happen regardless of what you guys do. So.
But I like that, but it's kind of funny because then he just leaves the movie. Yeah. For like the climax. Right. Which is kind of lame. Yeah. And I also didn't like that a bunch of them died, or like 2 or 3 of them died.
2 or 3, yeah.
And Sprite was made mortal with Gemma Chan's residual powers left from Tiamat. Which is fine, I guess.
Whatever powers, yeah.
I do think that the powers that everybody has is pretty cool. Like obviously the combat ones are simple, like make weapons or run super fast. But like Vastos's power to just like telekinesis engineer things. Yeah. And Sprite's illusions, or the ability to transmute matter into whatever other matter you want, that's super cool.
Yeah. And they use them in pretty cool ways. Like they didn't shy away from that. And I like when at the end when they're all fighting Icarus, and Makari, the super speed lady. I love the super speeding action she does against Icarus. Yeah, I wish she was in the movie more, but she's pretty good.
Yeah, and Druig can like mind control people, which is an interesting power because he rarely gets to use it and not be going against the rules. Like when he could have stopped the conquistadors from invading.
Right.
But that's like taking away their free will, which is bad. But in reality, Ajax knows the whole time that they're just population farming these people. So she should let him stop the war from happening. Right. But
so
that's...
so the Thanos thing, so in the beginning, Dane Whitman goes, "Why didn't you stop Thanos?" And Cersei goes,
"Stop Thanos."
Cersei goes, "Well, the Celestials didn't want us to. We're only allowed to interfere with deviants directly." So in the comics, Thanos is a deviant. So he... Okay, so the post-credit scene of this movie, there's famous dude, Harry Styles. Harry Styles pops up as a character called Star Fox. And Star Fox is...
I thought it was Eros.
I don't think so. Maybe it is.
Isn't Star Fox a video game character?
He is, yeah. But I think he is also... Is he in this? Hold on. Is he in this little thing I'm seeing?
Blurb.
Maybe it is Eros. Eros is his like given name. His like superhero name is Star Fox.
Oh, okay.
So he is Thanos's like brother in the way that like Gamora and Nebula are sisters. So he's Thanos' brother. He's an Eternal. Thanos is technically a deviant, but even if he's not, in the MCU, maybe he's not an actual deviant or whatever. So Thanos' plan is to wipe out half of life on the universe, right? Which would set back the emergence for every Celestial ever. So the Celestials' whole thing is that we have to send the Eternals here to protect human civilization so that the emergence or the birth of a new Celestial can happen.
Right.
But when this guy comes along that's like, I'm going to destroy half of life in the universe, which would set back the emergence of every single Celestial, they're like, nah, don't worry about it.
They must have known about the prime timeline.
Yeah, I don't know. It's obviously because they didn't think about that. Yeah. The Eternals, they didn't plan the Eternals since whatever, but... And I also, the criticism that, like, there are too many characters, like... But... I just think, isn't that how movies are? Like, all movies introduce new characters. So, like, there's a lot of movies, but, like, I mean, there's a lot of characters, but, like, it's a movie, and they're... Yeah, it depends on the writing and how you introduce all of them or whatever, but, like, I think it's fine.
No, seriously, this movie is, like, they have 10 new characters... The villains, Celestials, Eternals, Deviants, like there's a lot of things happening, new stuff, right? But it honestly, even through the first watch, I felt like I knew the stakes, and was like well acquainted with all of the characters. So I mean, and sure, I may be in the minority, because I'm gonna sit there and learn it, immediately as fast as possible, but. I don't know. I thought they did a good job creating that world. Yeah. This new extension of the world easily. So.
Yeah. It's pretty good. We got 2 more to talk about.
Okay.
One we've talked about already.
Spider-Man.
Actually, we talked about both of these already.
Yeah. Spider-Man No Way Home. Honestly, I think in theory, this is the greatest movie ever made. But in practice, it's not great. I think the idea of bringing a bunch of Spider-Men together has been proven to be really good, and bringing villains in from other universes and having them fight each other is cool, right? And it's cool to see Willem Dafoe come in and be Green Goblin again, because it's such a fun role, and it's obvious that he's living it up.
Yes.
And he gets to be campy and have fun with it.
Yeah, he loves it.
And seeing Toby and Andrew act together is awesome. So yeah, like when I watched it the first time, I was swept up in it, I'll be honest, and I was just like, this is crazy amazing, dude. It's so cool. But and the final sequence is really fun,
Mm-hmm.
and like you have a lot of callbacks to their previous films, like the "ow my back" joke,
Yeah.
or like getting Andrew Garfield getting to save someone
Yeah.
in a very similar way that he failed to save someone. I think is good for a character from a different movie franchise to come into the MCU and get his character arc resolved
Mm-hmm.
in another universe. I think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And Andrew Garfield's acting is amazing in this
Mm-hmm.
movie, genuinely.
Let's just let's put it out there. He's the best Spider-Man. He is. He's the best.
I don't know
Yeah.
about that one.
I love him. I love him.
Yuri
very much.
Lowenthal is the best Spider-Man.
Okay, well, he doesn't count.
But I don't know. This movie's a mess. After like
It is a mess.
the halfway point, and even
I would say before the halfway point, it's a mess. Or at least
I guess.
I very much dislike the first half of this movie. Maybe it's not as much of a mess, but
Well, I guess once they are all three together,
mm-hmm.
I think they were like, okay, this is the part we have to nail,
Yeah.
and they did. And I do like when Aunt May dies. Spoilers, I guess. We already talked about it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Aunt May dies, and it's really sad. And Tom Holland is standing in the rain,
Mm-hmm.
and J. Jonah Jameson's rant about Spider-Man is lighting his face up in the rain,
Mm-hmm.
and you get this close-up shot of him in the rain, and I'm like, oh, it's beautiful, and he's sad, and I really like that. And then the movie's good after that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me,
But
the turning point is as soon as Willem Dafoe becomes the Goblin again in the apartment. When that, like this, Tom Holland is like in the other room, and the camera does that
like a Snorri cam.
Yeah, and then he's walking through the apartment, and then Goblin reveal, and then they have a big fight.
That's
That's
neat trick.
That's the turning point for me, where I just like all my criticism goes away. There's some dumb stuff, but I'm just like, man, this is fun.
Yeah.
The scene in the apartment where Goblin comes back out and he goes, "Norman's on sabbatical, honey." It's just like, who wrote that line? But I'm here for it.
Who let George write a line?
So what I just don't like about this movie is, so the first half is very typical MCU Spider-Man movie, where he's all, "Oh my gosh, guys, what are we gonna? Oh, look, Doctor Strange, help!" And it's like Doctor Strange is like a weird character in this movie who does things that you're just like, why are you doing that? But like, I guess it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's not shot well, for some notable exceptions with the shot in the rain or whatever. And I don't know. It's just super. The first half is just kind of like, and then he fights Doc Ock, and they go on their villain quest, and Sandman is not real. He's a CGI character who looks really bad, and the Lizard's there, and it's like, well, whatever. Some of Electro's lines are terrible. Actually, a lot of their lines are terrible, the villains. But once it hits a certain point, I really like the fight in the apartment complex with Spider-Man and the Goblin is like, it's some of the best Spider-Man. Like, it's genuinely
really
a
good.
great action scene.
Mhm.
And I like Toby and Andrew, their introduction scene in theory, but the execution is very, like, watching it on my couch by myself in a room alone. They're like, the pause for applause is so funny.
Yeah.
He jumps through the portal and he just like, "It's me, Peter Parker."
It's like SNL or something.
It really, so that, I've said this every time I talk about this movie, is it feels like SNL, because they're just like, they're just doing bits, and they're just pausing for applause and laughter. And like, I don't even hate it. Like, it's kind of that thing where it's like, it is a movie, but it's more an event, and it's like, it's more genuinely for the fans. And there's so much like fan service stuff where, it's almost too much, but like, for those of us who have been watching Spider-Man for so long, like, those moments are nice to see.
Right.
And like, genuinely, the ending I didn't expect to be what it was, where Peter asked Doctor Strange to basically erase the memory of Peter Parker, of everybody, so nobody knows who Peter Parker is.
Sad.
And it kind of leaves him at like, they kind of imply that he becomes Spider-Man in this movie, like when he's talking to Andrew and Toby on the rooftop, and they kind of realize that Toby and Andrew became Spider-Man when Uncle Ben died, and they kind of come like, Aunt May died, like, you're Spider-Man now. Like, this is
right.
The great response.
You must go through some serious tragedy.
When the great power, great responsibility line hits, you're Spider-Man.
Right.
And so he ends this movie being the Spider-Man that like I want to see, instead of the, Tony Stark, Iron Man Jr. character that he's been in the other movies. So that makes this movie worth it for me. I genuinely hate some of the decisions of, like, I cannot wrap my head around the fact that there are 5 villains in this movie, and Sony has been just like on the edge of their seat waiting to do a Sinister Six movie. And they let them do 5. And I'm like, if you want to do it so bad, just put it, if I were to rewrite this movie, I would put the Vulture in it, because as it stands, there are no villains that have any prior experience with Tom Holland's Peter Parker. If you put in the Vulture, who you used in Venom, like, Michael Keaton would love to come back, I'm sure. Yeah. Bring him back. That gives Tom Holland a reason to, have an emotional connection to these villains, instead of being all people he's never met before. Right. I don't know why you didn't do that. Or get rid of Lizard and Sandman, because they're not really characters anyway. But
totally agree.
I really like... There's a lot that I don't like from a filmmaking standpoint, but it's a great time, and I love seeing Toby and Andrew back. I think it was, it was worth it in the end.
They were like, they spent so much time getting the Spider-Man together.
Yes.
Then they were like, okay, wait, now we got to write a movie? And then,
yeah. I'm genuinely curious when they decided to do a Spider-Verse thing, because I know that they shot it during the pandemic, and that's kind of why some of it doesn't look very good, or maybe that's the excuse that they're using. But it looks like a movie that it looks very rushed. So I wonder if they just, like, I don't know, decided to do it last minute because the internet was screaming for it or whatever.
Right. Well, right after Into the Spider-Verse, they were like, oh man, we got to do this.
And I do think it is genuinely, like, there's this whole fan service culture of we need to see cameos. And I think this movie is the reason that there's a whole cameo sequence in Multiverse of Madness. Because that sequence was reshot after No Way Home came out. And you can tell. We'll get to it. But I don't know.
Do you want to get to it right
Whatever.
now?
Let's get to it.
Let's move on.
Multiverse of Madness.
Dude, Doctor Strange 2, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We talked about this movie in length.
We did.
On a previous episode. So we'll probably keep it brief and then get to our rankings here.
Yep.
I really like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fights are unique. Any time that we can get away from, like, punching and Black Widow doing that thing where she spins around a dude's neck.
Yeah, right.
We've seen it enough times. It's cool,
Yes.
but, like, come on. Let's move on. Not to say that, like, regular punching or martial arts isn't interesting, because it is Shang-Chi. But, like, we get cool magic stuff And so when you pull out the little circles and punch people, or like you pull out a magic sword and you sword fight, it's not cool.
Yeah.
But when you fight someone with music notes pulled off of sheet music in a piano in a random Phantom Zone house in the middle of a floating like water space in the middle of two multiverse universes colliding together, fighting another version of yourself.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
And then you throw your consciousness into a dead version of yourself, and you fight the bad guy using a cape made out of the souls of the damned. Like, this is a magical movie with magical stuff in it.
Madness.
And if there wasn't, that would be bad. So I'm glad that there's a lot of he's doing spells and they're doing magic stuff, and you know, it's
throwing a head of a dog to eat an octopus from a different dimension.
Using alternate dimensional like glowing hands to throw a light post into the eye of a demon monster. Like that kind of stuff is dope.
It's awesome.
I'm glad it's here because it's great.
And there's like horror sequences which are really fun. I think Scarlet Witch is Scarlet Witch in this movie. She started to be at the end of WandaVision, but this movie she's like sad, angry,
straight up
and
evil.
Like the mother's love will prevail.
Yes.
And so she goes crazy, and I don't know. It's like scary.
We talked about it a lot.
Some sequences,
but I mean it's I watched it this morning. It's on Disney Plus now for those who don't know.
I gotta get on that.
I watched it again, and like just right from the open shot, it just like it's visually it's on another level from everything in this phase. It's just it looks so good, and I know a lot of people complain about Raimi's weird little like 2000s editing choices, but like they're so good. I just like keep doing it. It's great. I mean, don't do it all the time because that ruins it, but like in this movie, like there are so many just like did you know that you could be creative with a camera and creative with editing? Like you can do fun things with cameras and editing to make your movie better, and that's just something that hasn't happened in this entire
for a while.
Series. Just like you don't have one that caught my eye with like they opened the door to the Book of Vishanti dimension, and you don't have to take the camera and spin it like 360 degrees while you go through the door. You can just open the door and it's there. But like, if you do something cool, that's cool.
Yeah,
you know, because
there is a shot in Thor Ragnarok that's interesting. You said it's that there's nothing interesting, but Ragnarok has that one mirror shot through the floor, and it like flips in. Loki and the Scrapper are walking it up to Grandmaster. It's great. It's a good shot. Or like when they flip the throne in Black Panther.
Yeah,
that's a classic
pretty cool.
shot that everybody likes.
That's the best shot in Black Panther for sure.
Or all the Dutch angles; those are beautiful.
Oh, we love Dutch angles.
I kid. Yeah.
What else is there to say? It's so good, guys.
Yeah, it really is really good. I think the cameo scene is like, it's cool because it confirmed Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And that was like the one thing I wanted. And they cast John Krasinski, which is awesome. Because I think he's a great fit for the role.
Yeah.
But other than that, it definitely feels a little bit tacked on.
Yeah. It is like it's almost frustrating that it's called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because it's not really the multiverse of like there's one scene where they like fly past a bunch of different multiverses. But the one main alternate dimension that they spend time in is basically just ours, but it's a little bit quirky with little things that are different.
Yeah.
If they would have
red light means go.
Yeah, I think it would have been more interesting to like spend 15 minutes in the cartoon dimension or spend 10 minutes in the paint dimension or something. Just like go crazy with it.
Really, yeah.
Because it's really, I mean, it's called Multiverse of Madness, so that's what I expected, and it's just not really that. It's more about Wanda, which I love all of that. But they spend this time with the Illuminati stuff, and it feels very just like forced a little bit. And it's just, I mean, it has a great payoff because Wanda walks up and just murders them all in really fun ways, and I'm here for it.
It's really scary.
I
guess it did also put the X-Men in the MCU, at least in that universe. Mm-hmm. So that's a potential open door. Which
I like seeing Patrick Stewart.
Really like to see.
I like seeing Blackagar Boltagon. Great character.
Blackagar Boltagon.
I think they chose to put in Captain Marvel, Maria Rambeau's Captain Marvel, and Captain Carter, which I think are like fine. Like, is there anybody else that would be cool to see if we're doing this? I don't know. They keep using Captain Carter, and like they use her in What If and this, and it's like, does anybody really like care about that character very much? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But other than, I mean, that sequence, like I said, has a really good payoff with Wanda coming in, and so I like the scene. I really like the scene where Mordo and Doctor Strange both, he puts the like power dampening bracelet, and they just have to like, for that scene they get to punch each other, and it's kind of like that scene where, okay, the heroes can't rely on their magic anymore. They have to like get out of it in a creative way, which is fun. But yeah, there's that's a nitpicky thing. Like, it doesn't really.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
We're nitpicking.
It doesn't affect the overall story, and all the stuff with Wanda is like I've like teared up every single time when America punches her into the universe with her kids in it as she's trying to murder America, and her kids freak out, and she has a emotional scene or whatever. I'm just like, wow, it's beautiful. This is great.
It really is good.
Tragic character for sure. I think it's great. It's a great movie. Fun time.
Okay, are we ready?
Gosh, I think it's time
to rank them all.
I think it's time.
Oh man.
Yes.
Okay, we decided that we were gonna do them all because previously. Oh, do you want to rank Phase 4?
Oh yeah, let's.
Or just go.
Let's rank Phase 4 really quick.
Okay.
It won't take long. Just rattle off your Phase 4 rank.
Okay, my bottom, going from bottom to top, I have Spider-Man, Shang-Chi, Black Widow, Eternals, and Doctor Strange.
You have Spider-Man at the bottom?
I do.
Well, dang. Pulling mine up here, sorry.
It's accurate to my final list.
Yeah,
so
I feel that. Okay, mine is Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, Black Widow, Doctor Strange.
Hype for Black Widow. Let's do it. Yeah.
And I will say,
okay.
When I watched Black Widow again for this, she moved up many spots on my overall ranking. She was near the bottom, but now she's much higher. So
that's good. I like to hear that.
Yeah,
it's a great movie.
It's a good movie. Okay. Here's my ranking list. I have a few categories.
Oh, man.
I have 4 categories. Movies at the bottom that are boring and or offensive to me. That's a small category. The next category up is the standard Marvel film. Not great, but not bad or offensive. Fun. Third up, amazing, nearly perfect films for what they are that don't necessarily stand on their own. So that's a little caveat. Like, they're great, but like they don't really stand on their own without all this. And then the top tier, genuinely great films that stand on their own for all audiences. Okay.
Wow. I did not do anything special for me.
That's okay. You can use mine. My bottom category, movies that are boring and or offensive to me. At the very bottom, number 28, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Thor: The Dark World, Captain Marvel, Far From Home, Spider-Man. Just to be clear, that's the second Tom Holland Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, because their names are so similar.
And then the biggest category, the standard fun Marvel movie. So this is 24. Thor, Hulk, Ant-Man, Ragnarok, It's pretty low on my list. That's probably a hot take. Shang-Chi, Captain America, the First Avenger, Black Panther, Black Widow, Eternals. Oh, I need to switch that around. Eternals is below Black Widow now.
Ooh.
Eternals, Black Widow, Doctor Strange, the first one, Spider-Man No Way Home, The Avengers, Captain America Civil War, Age of Ultron, Spider-Man Homecoming. So that's the standard Marvel movies that are fun.
Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming.
And then the great movies that don't necessarily stand on their own: Iron Man 3, Iron Man 2, Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, Multiverse of Madness. And the top tier, the final four, for me at least. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and the best one, in my opinion, my number one, Guardians Volume 2. There we go.
Wow.
There you go.
What a list.
Can we put that on the
like
screen?
the
Maybe we'll
tiers.
try to put that on the screen.
If it's a doc, I can just take a screenshot of it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, for sure.
So it'll be there. If I remember and you remember.
Yep.
Okay. I just got a straight list, bottom to top. But I'll try to give them they won't fit my tiers because I didn't take the audience into account. This is like for me specifically.
Yep.
So, at the bottom I have, going up, The Incredible Hulk,
Wow, okay.
Thor the Dark World, and Thor. Captain Marvel, and here's where it gets crazy, guys. All right, this is not going to go well for me. Iron Man 2 and Iron Man.
At 24 and 23?
Yes.
That is egregious.
Then I have Spider-Man Far From Home, Ant-Man, Avengers Age of Ultron, Spider-Man No Way Home, Black Panther, Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's a banger. We've already reached these are good movies.
Yeah.
Okay. Shang-Chi, Captain America Civil War, Captain America First Avenger, Spider-Man Homecoming, Captain America Winter Soldier, Black Widow, Eternals.
Oh wow.
Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, The Avengers. Is this top 10 now? I think Eternals is 10.
Okay.
9, 8, 7.
That's pretty high up there.
4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Eternals is 10. So 9, Doctor Strange. 2, 8, The Avengers. 7, Thor Ragnarok. 6, the first Doctor Strange. 5, Iron Man 3. 4, Guardians Volume 2. 3, Avengers Endgame. 2, Avengers Infinity War, and number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wow. There you have it, folks.
So people may be, if there are some like deep lore people here, they may notice that Endgame is number 3, even though it was number 4 on my all-time movies list, and Infinity War and Guardians of the Galaxy are not on that list. It's just because Endgame is like an event, you know. It's like a special outside of the norm, but like in terms of the MCU as it stands on its own, I think, or like the individual movies, these are like
sure
part of the better.
Man,
I know it's complicated.
Wait, we're Guardians fans.
Oh yeah, we are.
Elisha's gonna hate that. He hates those movies.
I wasn't sure if you were gonna put Guardians 1 or 2 at the top.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that you were gonna have them both at 1 and 2, but I wasn't sure.
So my explanation for putting them both at the top is I think they're just like those two movies stand completely on their own from everything else, and they're like, I don't know. I think they're just the character arcs between those two are just the most, for me, like the most resonant between the two movies. And they're like, I think those two like will stand the test of time maybe more than something like Multiverse of Madness or something, you know?
Yeah. I feel that.
So And I just genuinely, I honestly like, I probably watch those two less than a lot of these movies, but it's because I just don't want to get bored of them because I love them so much.
Like, I'm kind of bored of Winter Soldier, and that's why it didn't go as high.
Mm-hmm.
But it is it's a good movie.
That one's a lot of nostalgia and stuff too. That, man,
yeah,
I love that one. But yeah, so the reason Ant-Man and the Wasp is at the very bottom is just because I probably will never watch it again. I only saw it once. Oof. I watched it a second time, but I was only kind of half paying attention. And I just won't watch it again. Ant-Man's not even the main character. I'm not into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The others are whatever. Yeah. I didn't expect to like Incredible Hulk as much as I did through this whole thing. I like that movie a lot. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been really fun.
I have fun for the first 30 minutes, and then it just kind of falls off for me.
Yeah. This has been really fun though, going through all these.
Yeah.
And we're not done because Thor comes out soon, and we got lots of stuff.
Thor comes out soon
to cover.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, this has been the Marvel Cinematic Juniverse. We have finished it. June is over. That's not accurate, but you get the idea.
Almost. What do we got going on next week? What are we doing?
Next week, we are doing Lightyear, and we are going to finish Obi-Wan. The last episode comes out today of recording, Wednesday. So I got to watch that soon.
Yep. Keep an eye out for some. We're having some more rankings coming up. We got some fun stuff.
Yeah, what else are we ranking?
We got the Harry Potter movies coming up with our sisters. Oh, yeah. Caitlin and Kelsey are going to join us.
Sisters aboard
to talk about
JJ and K and K.
Caitlin is probably the most she probably knows the most about Harry Potter, so that'll be fun.
Oh yeah. Well, the Weavers are newer.
Yeah.
To the Harry Potter cinematic universe.
Within the last few years, we saw them all. So
yeah, I've read all the books. Caitlin read the book. Well, her father read her the books when she was young. I was excluded from that. But I've seen all the movies many times. I like it a lot.
I've been getting really excited.
All of those.
We're gonna rank all the DC movies pretty soon. In a few months.
I put that on there.
I'm pretty pumped because Joshua hasn't seen most of the. So I think we're gonna cover. We haven't really talked about logistics. I think we're gonna cover everything after Dark Knight Rises because that's like when the stuff you haven't seen most of.
Yeah.
The DC.
We don't need to talk about
EU.
Dark Knight Rises.
When they started with Man of Steel is basically the start of that whole thing. I'm excited because he hasn't seen a lot of them, and I was making the list.
I barely know anything about DC characters,
and man, it's gonna be fun because there's some there's some bad stuff in there, but it's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah.
So that'll happen soon.
Yeah. As far as DC movies go, I've seen Man of Steel and the newest Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
With Idris Elba.
It'll be so fun.
That's it.
Watching the original cut of Justice League and then watching the Zack Snyder's cut with you.
I have to watch them both?
You do. You do have to. I'm going to make you because it's very important to me that you see both.
Jesse Eisenberg is in both of those, right?
Post-credit scenes, yes.
Oh, interesting.
He's not really in them, no. But he's in. Jesse Eisenberg is in Batman vs Superman as Lex Luthor.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, we got Harry Potter, we got Thor, we got film scores. That'll be an interesting episode to describe music. We'll have to see if we can figure out a way to.
I was thinking that too. If we can put some in.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll
just not monetize.
Maybe we'll have to put that on the Patreon. I don't know.
Yeah.
The one that we don't have.
We're gonna talk about Nope. We're gonna talk about our favorite TV shows. I put top 5. I think we'll do top 10 just for.
Yeah, we can find 10.
Fun.
Yeah.
And then August 12th, a little special thing is gonna happen. I have been writing a Star Wars TV show for 2 years, probably, when I started that document.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost done with season 1. It's not like I've fully written it out. It's like rough storyboard kind of details.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty solid. We're gonna cast it, and do that sort of thing. Just kind of bring it up, talk about it. I don't know how far we'll go into the details of the story, but
it'll be like
talk about the characters.
It'll just be a fun, different little episode.
Fun, chill thing. Maybe we'll do it live. Who knows?
That'd be fun.
We have like I have the resources now to make this all work live on YouTube. So maybe we'll do it.
I forget what day that soccer game is that you guys might be coming to, but we'll have to record an episode while you're here.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
do a live show.
But... Yeah.
And we'll just pump out some content. We've been thinking about doing like commentary tracks too for movies.
Yeah. I don't know how we can do that in different states, but maybe we can figure out.
I think it's actually feasible.
Yeah.
So
that'd be fun.
But we're not worried about that right now. This has been Quarter Twins, episode 13. We're here to stay, you guys. This isn't going anywhere. We'll be back to more normal episodes, I guess, with Lightyear. Good, the bad, the funny.
Yep.
And we will move on from there. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We love you so well. Jordan, take us out.
Yes, thank you guys so much for joining us for Marvel Cinematic Universe, baby. It's been a great time. Hope you guys have had fun. Hope you've enjoyed our hot takes and cold takes, and enjoy some Marvel movies today. Go watch Doctor Strange. Actually, go watch Miss Marvel. Great show. It's not doing well, so go give it some attention.
I haven't seen the second episode yet.
Fantastic. So
I'm proud of Pablo.
We'll see you all next week for Lightyear. Go see that before then.
To infinity and beyond.
See ya.
Banger.
Banger.
All right.
We're podcasters.